Namaskar. Welcome to this fifth episode of Kathopanishad. This is the second Valli of the second Adhyaya of Kathopanishad. We start with the gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. I pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved and transmitted to us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Puja Guruma, Samananda Saraswati Ji, and I'm still a student and I like to share my understanding with you. We start with a prayer, which is also the Shanti mantra of Kathopanishad. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, to summarize so far, in the first Adhyaya, in the first Valli, there is the story of Nachiketa and his father Vajashravasa, who is doing a yagna, Vishwajit yagna, where he's donating everything. And while his old cows are being donated, Nachiketa asks his father, "To whom are you going to donate me?" And he's out of anger says that I'm donating you to the god of death, Yamaraja. Nachiketa goes to Yamaraja's home where he's out of town, and for 3 nights he stays there without any food or water. And then when Yamaraja comes, he asks Nachiketa to ask for 3 boons. Nachiketa, for the first boon, asks for his father, for his mental peace and shanti. Second boon, he asks for Agni Vidya, for attaining heaven. And the third boon, he asks for Atmajnana, the self knowledge, the knowledge of the universe, this Brahman. What is that eternal divinity? And Yamaraja says, gives him many, many temptations, kingdom, wealth, physical pleasures, a lot of other temptations he gives. But Nachiketa is steadfast, and that shows his eligibility to understand this Atmajnana, Adhikaritva, which is very important. He has Vairagya, strong Vairagya towards all the worldly pleasures, worldly objects. In the second Valli, Yamaraja shows him 2 paths, the Preya Marg and the Shreya Marg, how this Atmajnana is very durlabh, it is rare. What are the means to attain Atmajnana, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana? What are the benefits or the fruits of this Atmajnana? Eternal Shanti, relief from the Sansar Chakra, and he talks about the Om devotion. And then in the third Valli, Yamaraja starts the actual Updesha, or the teachings of Atmajnana, the self-knowledge, what remains after the death of the body. Nachiketa had asked, Asti, na asti iti eke, what is there after the death of the body? What remains? What is the reality? He asks. And the first Valli of the second Adhyaya, again the description of the Tattva goes on. Yamaraja keeps on and says, Manaseva iva idam aptavyam. We can only attain this by our own mind, our own intellect, which is purified. And the one, Advitiya Brahma, is something that is praised always, and all the Nana, the differences, the Upadhi or the identification, the differences in forms, shapes, all the differentiations are criticized. And finally, it is said that we have to know this. This is already our Atma Swarupa. It is only we have to know it. We don't have to do anything. We have to know it to become one with this Atma Swarupa, and that itself is freedom, itself is eternal freedom or moksha, because that is the Swarupa of the Atma. And this is Tattva is very deeply hidden. It cannot be seen. It is cannot be manifest. And in the second Valli now, Yamaraja continues with this description from various different perspectives, as is the method used in Upanishad to expound or to describe the Tattva. Of course, it cannot be described in words, but still Guruji explains us how we can understand this by seeing it from all the different perspectives. So we start with the first mantra of the second Valli of the second Adhyaya. Puramekadashatvaram Ajasya Vakrachetasah Anusthaya na shochati Vimuktascha vimuchyate Etadvaitata. Yamaraja says, Puram Ekadashatvaram. This Puri, this body is considered like a city which has Ekadasha Dwara, which has 11 gates. In Bhagavad Gita, it says Navadware Pure Dehi. There are 9 gates. Here in Upanishad, it says there are 11 gates. Now, on the face, we have 7 gates. The gates are essentially the pores or the openings through which we imbibe all the, the information. The senses go out and take all the information, and sometimes there is some excretion or some kriya or karma or some movements also happening. Something goes in, something goes out. So on the face, we have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 nose, 1 mouth, 2 ears. So there are 7 on the face. And then there are 2 excretory organs for urine and stool. So it makes 9 dwara. These are the Navad dwara. And then here Upanishad says 2 more are added. One is the umbilicus, where in our fetal life we obtain all the nutrition. And the final one is the Brahmanarandra, through which in the yogic prakriya, in the yogic process, our prana goes through and merges with the cosmic consciousness through the Brahmarandra, which is the highest chakra. And the owner of this is described in the Tattva, this Deha of, and the owner, the Dehi, Yamaraja is describing the owner of this city of 11 gates. And he says, who is that? He says, Ajasya. He is Ajanma. He is not born. He is unborn. There is no birth. There is no death. It is Avakra. Avakra means it is very simple. There are no distortions. There is no, all the distortions that we see, all the manifestations, different forms are all because of the identification or what is called as a upadhi. This body, this mind, all the different minds, the body, different shapes, sizes, and all the different nature of our mind, how it works, different for different people. It's all because of the identification. But within, beyond this or behind this, there is only one tattva that pervades, and that is Chetasa. Chetasa means it is Chetana, it is like a consciousness. And this is one tattva behind all these upadhi. Anusthaya na shochati. Anushtan, the person who does anushtan. Anushtan means who repeatedly does study. Anu matlab, repeated, and sthana means we remain in that place, do japa, mala, all the different bhakti, karma. We purify ourselves and then continuously we do shravana, manana, nididhyasana on a repeated basis till this knowledge is imbibed into us. So it talks in one word, Anusthaya means the entire spiritual journey. One who does the spiritual journey does not, na shochati, does not become, have miseries. That man becomes free, gets freedom, moksha, vimukta cha vimuchyate. And that person was already free. He was already free, but he didn't know. Because he didn't know, he thought that he is bound by a lot of other limitations, but he was ever free. And that is how he becomes free. It is in the mind that we have to know this, to understand that we were already a free person. Etadvaitata. This is the tattva, the divine knowledge that you had asked for, Nachiketa. And we need to purify our inner feelings, our inner vrittis, all our bhava, shuddhi is very important on the Adhyatmic path, on the spiritual journey before attaining Brahma. And that's what is the word avakra. We have to become very simple. All the distortions, vakrata, that is in the upadhi has to be, all our raga, dvesha, our krodha, kama, all this has to be relieved till we become avakra, simple, bilkul, all very simple, because Chaitanya itself is with avakra, it is without any distortions, and that to attain that we have to become very simple, humble. And this anushtan has to be done by our karma, our bhakti, to develop an eligibility, shama, dama, adi, shat sampatti, to develop an eligibility, adhikaritva, to attain the atma gnana. Ultimately, the gnana sadhana is by shravana. Guru, when Guru talks about Upanishada, we listen to that, and then we have to manana. All the doubts that are arising in our mind have to be resolved by sutarka, the logic that is given in the Shastra. And then finally, nididhyasana, by alone, we have to contemplate, do meditation, and imbibe and steady this knowledge within us. That is the journey of Nididhyasana. So this is how we can understand and be nashochati, we can be relieved of all the miseries. Again, Yamaraja continues describing the tattva, and in very different ways. This is a difficult shloka to speak, but it is the grace of Guruma that we are able to pronounce these words, which are very difficult. Hansa Shuchishat Vasurantariksha Sata Hota Vedishadatithir Durona Sata Nrushat Varasat Rutasat Vyoma Sata Abjago Jarutaja Atrijarutam Bruhata. Here it says Hansa. Hansa, this tattva is like Hansa. Hansa are the swan, the very beautiful white birds which live in the Man Sarovar and which breed on the Moti Chara, the pearls. And they live in very pure waters. And that suggests to us that we need inner purity to understand the Atma Gnana, that is the Adhikaritva. Only then we can understand, because this tattva is like a Hansa, it is very clear. And Hansa also means it can differentiate water and milk. And that's why that wise discrimination to separate Atma and Anatma is very important, like a Hansa, to understand this Atma Gnana. And like a Vasu, Vasu means the wind, Antariksha Sata, which lives in the outer space, in the universe where the wind blows everywhere. And this Atma Tattva is like that wind, or from an adhyatmic or a spiritual sense, it can be the wind or air inside us, the breath, our prana, our life, which gives us the life. Hota Vedisha Sata. So Hota means, and the one who gives the oblations into the fire of fire or the fire of yagna. So normally Brahmins do this yagna and they give the oblations, but Hota also means Agni, the fire itself. And Vedi means Agni Vedi, where the fire of the fire, where this yagna is being done. So that is also the tattva. It lives in this fire of the yagna. The fire is the first of the elements, the five elements. And inside also, spiritually also, inner, there is a fire of our energy which metabolizes our food, called Jataragni, which burns, and in that sense also Paramatma or divinity stays within us. Atithi Durona Sata, like a guest, like a Atithi, Paramatma or divinity lives in a kalash. Kalash is a pot which has a very broad base and a very narrow mouth, where you put a coconut and do a seva or a puja. So here, like a guest, or like a nectar, like a somarasa, it lives in kalash, where all the pure waters of the rivers get together, and when we pray or do puja. Nrushat means the divine lives in the humans, the divinity. Varasat, Vara means the Sreshta or the best. The Devatas or the deities are also the forms of the divine. Rutasat, Ruta means Satya, the truth. So it lives in the true words of the truth, because unless we speak the truth, we cannot attain or go to the divine. We cannot purify ourselves. Vyomasata. Vyomasata means vast, very vast sky. It is like a vast sky. It lives in the sky, outer sky, inner sky. We also have a vast sky within our bodies. Abja, all that animals, plants, pearls, everything that arises from the water bodies, all the water. That's the ocean life. All this is part of the divine. Goja, Go means Prithvi, the earth. Everything that arises from the earth, like the reptiles, the snakes, all the insects, everything. All these are divine. Rutaja, all that arises from the truth, because the truth is the reality. So everything that arises from the truth is the reality. In our scriptures, our lineage, the truth, Satya, is very, very powerful, because that is the foundation of our scriptures. Adrija. Adrija means everything that arises from the mountains, like the waterfalls on the mountains, the rocks, the rivers, the streams, everything on the mountains, everything is divine. Rutam Bruhata, that truth. Bruhata means very vast, all pervading. Truth is nothing but the divine. It is Paramatma itself. And Guruma tells us that human being, human life is a very rare life that we have got after so much of good karma. And any human intelligence is good enough to understand the divine. We don't need very super intelligence to understand divinity. We need to have faith in our scriptures, in our guru, try to understand what our Upanishad are trying to tell us. And it gives very short words, but the meaning is very deep. And that's why we have to think or contemplate on what is being said in the Upanishad. In the next shloka, uh, it is described how, again, the description of the divine, how it is all the sense, all the experiences that we do, everything is surrendered to the divine. Udvam pranam unnayati. So, by which the prana goes, has a udvagati, or has an elevated journey. So, it is said that in Yoga Shastra there are five prana: prana, apana, samana, udana, Vyana, all these five prana, they undergo urdhvagati. This is the prana is the kriya shakti, the power of our movements, or the the way we do work, and this is through the prana shakti. Apanam pratyagasyati, and it is said that the apana goes within or goes down. Pratyagatma means well within. So that is how goes within, and this is described in one word as soham. Saha aham. Saha means that, aham means I. And both of these are one and the same. That is the ultimate Mahavakya Updesha, or the meaning of the Upanishads and the Mahavakyas of the Upanishads, that the same divinity that is outside, all pervading, is also part of the essence of my own self. Madhye Vamana Asinam. Vamana means small. Vamana avatar of Bhagavan was a very minute kind of a form of the divine. And Madhya means in the center of our Hriday Akash, Asinam, it is seated there. And this beautiful form, Vaman also, Vama means beauty. And this beautiful form which resides in the center of the heart makes us remind always that we don't need to look outside to search for the divine. The praptisthan, the attainment, the place for attainment of the divinity, Guru always tells us that is within us. And that's why we have to look within. The spiritual journey is also to look within. Vishwe Deva Upasate, where to whom all the Devtas, all the deities, all the men are surrendered to. They all work according to their work allocated to them. The Vayu Devta has to blow. The Surya Devta has to, give the radiance, effulgence, and the light. So everybody, all the Devtas have been given that work. They are all surrendered to that Paramatma, to that supreme divinity. And from Vaman to the Virat avatar, everything is divine. And this is what our Upanishads tell us, that everything is just divinity, nothing else. Continuing the description of the Tattva, it says, Sharirasthasya Dehinaha, one who lives within Dehi. Dehi means one who is owner of the Deha. Deha is the body. So one who owns this body, and that is nothing but the Atma, the Jivatma, and who lives Sharirasthasya, means who lives within the body. Astra asya vistransamanasya. And when the body, which is constantly decaying, which is getting destroyed, vistransa means it is getting destruction happening all the time. Dehat vimuchya manasa. When this owner leaves this deha, dehi, when he leaves the deha, when the deha is no more, it undergoes death or destruction and ultimately final death. Then the dehi leaves the body. Kimatra parishishyate. What remains? Nothing remains. He says nothing remains, and that itself is the tattva that you had asked for, Nachiketa. That is the life. The life itself in this body is the tattva, it's the divinity, and it is nothing else, because once there is no life, the dead body is useless. We don't have any feelings for the dead body. It is considered to be unpious to keep the dead body at home, because it invites lots of infections and decay, and that's why, only when there is life in the body, there is a value of the body. Otherwise, without life, there is no value, and that life itself is the divinity. That is what Yamaraja is telling Nachiketa. Divine Tattva is responsible for all the functions. It says Martya Jivati Kashchana. Martya means the one, that person who is dying, already decaying, destroying, that body constantly undergoes destruction. But that person who is Jivati, that person who is living while he is constantly dying, That is a paradox, but there's a beautiful way how Upanishad describes our human life. Na pranena, na apanena. But that life is not because of prana or apan. Is only the part of the kriya shakti. Itarena tu jivanti. Upanishad says that it is by some other tattva, by Chaitanya, that you hold, you are able to live this life. Yasmin etau upashritau, where everything is surrendered. All devtas, all the beings, all the things, everything is surrendered to this supreme divine. And we need to understand that that same divinity is within us. It is the owner of our body, mind, sense, intellect. Just like, when it started the description in the first Valli, the Ratha Rupaka Kalpana, the senses are like the horses, the mind is like a lagam which controls the senses, the buddhi is sarthi, and the owner of this entire chariot is the Atma, who is the owner. Similarly, here we have to understand that the same Atma is nothing but divinity, it is nothing but Brahma, it is the same as Chaitanya. Then Yamaraja tells Nachiketa, O Gautama, O Nachiketa, you are from the Gautama lineage. Hanta, he says, okay. Te idam pravakshyami. Now I shall be telling you what? It says Guhya Brahma Sanatanam. That Guhya, Gnan. That Guhya means a hidden knowledge, secret knowledge of Brahma. Brahma is the eternal divinity, as we call it, and it is described in Upanishad, and which is Sanatan, which is always there, which is eternal, it is unborn, does not die, it is immortal. So it is always there. That eternal Brahma I am going to tell you. Yathacha maranam prapya. After the death of the body, it says Atma Bhavati, journey of the Jiva Atma. How does it go further? I'm going to tell you. So he says, I will tell you about Brahma and I will tell you about the onward spiritual journey. So first he speaks about the onward spiritual journey in the next shloka and then in detail describes what is Brahma. So Sansar Chakra or life cycle is being described in this shloka. Sharirattvaya Dehinaha. The owner of this body. Dehinaha means the plural, owners of this body, the Jivatma. And here Yamaraja is talking about the people who are mostly unwise, attached to this world, how their journey happens. Of course, for the person who is wise, who has attained the divine Brahma, does not have any journey after death. But for most people who have attachments, moha, and they believe that this world is a reality, and they are unable to fathom the eternal divinity. For them, anye yonim prapadyante. They, after death, they get other species depending on their karma. After death, anye sthanum anusayanti. Whereas some others will get a steady species. Steady species means trees or plants or flowers or things like that, which according to Upanishad also is part of Chaitanya. So this is also a species. And how do we get this? What determines what we get? Which kind of species? He says, Yatha karma, yatha shrutam. According to our own karma, according to our own karma, as we have listened to the Shastra, if we have done good karma, we have done sat karma, we have done punya karma, then we get a better life, we get a better elevated life in the next janma. But if we have not done good karma, we have not listened to Shastra, we have not listened to Guruji, we have not lived a good life, we have done papa karma, then we'll go adogati, we'll go downwards in the next life. And this is how our life, our next life is determined by our own karma. It is not Paramatma or not the divinity or the divine supreme divinity determines all this. Of course, the grace of God is always there. If God is graceful on is bhakta, has a lot of love for the bhakta, will elevate, give an exception and give an elevated life for the next janma so that that bhakta can immediately attain the divine. But otherwise, there is a system, this law of karma phala, which determines where it is said that Chitragupta writes all this and notes, everything is being noted, all our karma are also being noted. And based on this karma is not just outer action, it is even the thought, it is a feeling also, is a karma. Whatever we speak is also a karma. So based on all these karmas, our bhav, our shuddha bhav or not, how we, our expectations, the way we have, if we If we do we do anger, it's not a good karma. We insult somebody, it's not a good karma. So according to our karma, we will get our own, uh, the balance of our punya and papa, and then finally, based on this, we get the next janma. So that is the life cycle Yamaraja is describing. And now Yamaraja starts the description of Brahma. What is that absolute reality? The divine tattva, the reality of our own self, the Atma tattva. He says, from our own perspective, Yamaraja tells him, Ya esha sukteshu jagarati. One that is awake while everything sleeps. We know that when we are in a deep sleep stage, which is called the Sushupti Avastha, in this Sushupti Avastha, what is Jagarti? What remains awake? Who experiences that Sushupti Avastha? We often, when we wake up in the morning, we say, oh, I had a beautiful sleep in the night. I had such good sleep. I don't know anything. In that deep sleep, also I experienced that I had a beautiful sleep, very nice, where there was no Stula Sharira, the gross body was not there, it was sleeping. The Sukshma Sharira, the mind, intellect, all our feelings, Vritti, everything was sleeping. Our intellect, our ego, everything. Mana, Chitta, Ahankara, everything had gone to sleep. In the deep sleep, nothing is awake. But even then, there is some tattva which experiences that our presence over there, and that is the tattva. Because that's the best way to understand the tattva based on our daily experience. We have a daily experience of deep sleep, dream state, and awake state. These are the three states that we regularly pass on every day. So the beauty of our scriptures is that it tells us from our daily experience how we can understand the tattva of our own self. Kamam kamam purusho nirmimanaha. So according to our kamana means desires, we create nirmana. What do we create? Purushaha? The dreams. We create the dreams, and based on our karma, our sanskara, our impressions, we create the dreams. And this, even in the dream state, the one who knows this dream is one who experiences the dream is the tattva, because the stula sharira is not there. The gross body is sleeping. There is no movement. Only the mind creates the dreams. So it's the sukshma sharira which creates the dreams, and the dreams are also created within the mind. So there is somebody who sees these dreams, and that seer is somebody who is the tattva. Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma, that pure consciousness which experiences the dream state, the deep sleep state, even the awake state, everything, all the three states, where the three states keep passing, but the knower of these three states is one, and that is the Brahma. It says Tadeva Amrutam Uchyate, and that itself is Amruta. It does not get death. It is immortal, it is unborn, it is eternal. That Brahma Tattva is nothing. That what you feel as our own Atma is nothing but Brahma. Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve, where all people are surrendered to. In the eyes of the Lord, Atma and Brahma is not different. It is one and the same Chaitanya, to which all the people are surrendered, because it is the foundation of all the beings and things, like a thread where all the pearls are being threaded on one thread to create a chain or a mala. Taduna tyeti kashchana, no one can defy its powers. It is all powerful. Etadvaitata Nachiketa, this is the tattva, divine tattva, divinity that you had asked for as your third boon, what remains after death. Now, in the next two mantras, Yamaraja describes this tattva from a different perspective, giving two examples of fire, Agni, and Vayu, the wind, and shows how one becomes many. Because when we say that this tattva is one, but it manifests in various different ways in the universe, how can we understand that one can become many? And to make us understand this, beautiful examples says Yatha Agni Ekaha. Just as there is only one fire, Bhuvanam Pravishto, but it lights the entire universe. And according to, uh, the shape of those objects, or it manifests, there is only one light. Say, for example, in a movie, when we go, there is only one light of the projection, or that shows us all the different colors. Similarly, we have to understand that there is only one energy which lights up all the different electrical equipments like bulbs, tube lights, LED lamps, air conditioners, fans, ACs. Everything is lighted up or work from the same electricity. Similarly, here it says that Agni is one, Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva. But same light manifests in very different forms as per the forms of the objects it takes up and it shows those objects. And our attention is only on those objects. We don't see that light that illuminates those objects. So that is a beautiful way. And similarly, it says, Tatha Sarva Bhutantara Atma Ekaha. Similarly, there is only one Atma within all the beings. Rupam Rupam Pratirupo. And it according to our own bodies, our own identifications, our own upadhi, our mind, our senses, and our we are all different. We look different, we think different, our mind, our intellect works differently. Everything is different. But behind all those differences, there is just one Atma. That is what Upanishad tells us. Bahishcha. And Upanishad also tells us that it's not just that this Atma is inside, but it is outside also. It manifests everywhere in the universe. It is all pervading Atma. The same example, similar example is given in the next mantra, the 10th mantra, that just like the fire, the wind, yatha vayu ekaha bhuvanam pravishto, just as one wind pervades the entire universe, rupam rupam prati rupo babhuva, and takes up the forms of different objects. Say for example, we are all very different, but the same oxygen we take to survive. Oxygen is one, but we all different people breathe the same oxygen to survive. Similarly, says Tatha Ekaha Sarva Bhutantara Atma. Similarly, there is only one Atma, our real self, our foundation. Atma is only one in all the beings, Rupam, Rupam, Pratirupoi, that manifest in very different forms according to our Upadhi, our identification, our different self. And Bahishcha also manifests outside all the beings. It is not just that it is inside. This divinity pervades, this Chaitanya, Atma pervades everything, everywhere, and at all times. So there is one Atma that pervades all. That is what Upanishad is trying to teach us. Now, if it is all within us, then we may think that Atma has a lot of attachment. We also all our attachments are because of Atma. But now next shloka, Upanishad teaches us that Atma is asanga. It is completely detached from our anatma. Anatma is different, Atma is different, and Atma and Anatma are completely detached. Atma is a seer, Anatma is a seen, and both of them are asanga. There is no attachment at all between the two, and gives an example of Surya and teaches us or give by example telling us Yatha Surya Sarvalokasya Chakshu. Just as the sun is the eye of all the beings, because only when the sun rises we are able to see everything. There is prakash, there is light. We're able to see, otherwise till then there is darkness. So sun is like the eyes of all the beings. We may have our eyes open, but if sun is not there, we can't see in darkness. So sun is important for our vision, and sun is our eyes. It is said that sun is the eyes of all the beings because it allows us to see everything. Na lipyate chakshushaihi bahya doshaihi. But the sun does not get attached to the blemishes, the dosha of the eyes. Suppose the eye is, there is a cataract. We are not able to see. But if there is sun, that object will be seen. Even if the eye has a blemish or has a problem, even then, when the sun comes up, others will be able to see. So the sun is not affected for its prakasha or for illuminating objects when there is the dosha of the eyes, right? Similarly, there is one Atma in all the beings, nalipyate lokadukkhena, does not get attached to the miseries of people. All our miseries, all our dukkha are our in the mind. It is in this sukshma sharira. This is how we feel the dukkha because of some nimitta karana, some reason we feel the dukkha. But our Atma is completely asanga. It remains unattached to this dukkha. And if we can identify with this Atma, then we may not feel this kind of a pain by remaining outside. It remains outside, it remains separate, it remains away, it remains detached. And that is how Atma remains completely unattached or asanga, and does not have any attributes like pain, miseries, dukkha. All these are not part of the Atma. They are all part of our anatma. They are all part of our mind, intellect, our feelings, our vritti. All this is completely separate. And what is the benefit of knowing this true self? It is Param Ananda, eternal bliss or inner bliss. That is what the next mantra Yamaraja tells Nachiketa, Ekaha Vashi, Sarva Bhutantar Atma. That one Atma, if we know, which is Vashi. Vashi means it is an independent principle. It is not dependent on anything for its survival. It is not under the Vasha of anything. It is independent completely. And ekam rupam bahuda yah karoti. Being one, this Atma becomes many. It manifests in many, many different ways as per the form that it manifests. Tam atmastham yaha anupashyanti dhiraha. That dhira purusha, that wise man, that discriminating man who knows what is Atma, what is Anatma, only is able to see this Atma as his own self. Most of the people are identified that with their Anatma and think that I am this Anatma, or I am a mixture of Atma and Anatma as a Sanghata or as a conglomeration. And this is how we normally perceive our own self. But from there, we have to do this journey and understand that I am this pure Atma. I am not this Anatma. I am completely different from the Anatma. Then only Tesham Sukham Shashvatam. Then only that person, once he knows as a very firm knowledge, a paroksha gnan, that I am the Atma, I am not the Anatma, and Atma itself is complete bliss. He has his own, he revels in eternal bliss. That person, Shashwata Sukha. Shashwat means eternal. There is no end. It is a permanent happiness. Na itaresham. None other, nobody else, unless knowing this, can have this kind of such a bliss. Because most of the pleasures of the world are very, very transient, temporary. They are more like an illusion, or they are temporary pleasures. If we want a permanent happiness to revel in that eternal inner bliss, then the only way, option, or alternative is to understand our real nature, our real self. That is the self knowledge or the Atma Gnana, to know that I am the Atma, I am not the Anatma. And this is the only way to have eternal bliss or happiness. And the next shloka, again, Yamaraja says, Nitya Anityanam, one which is eternally present behind all the impermanent objects. Anitya ke piche jo bhi nitya hai, one that is the existence, the sat, that this isness, that sat tattva, or that existence, pure existence behind all these objects of the world. The objects may be impermanent, but that existence behind that object, that Sat is the Atma that is permanent. Chetana cha Chetananam. Behind all these Chetana objects which are, which are seen or known, behind all this there is this consciousness that is behind all these insentient or the Jada Padartha, and that is the knower of all. That is called the Chit Swarupa of the Atma, the knower of everything. Ekah Bahunam Yah Vidadhati Kaman, one that fulfills all our kaman, and provides inner bliss to all of us. That Ananda Swarupa of the Atma is one of these are the ways how Upanishad describes the Atma Swarupa as Sat Chit, and the Ananda Swarupa, the ever existent, the all knower, and the ever bliss form of the Atma. This is all the three are one, they are not different. These are the attributes of the Atma. Tam Atmastam Yaha Anupashyanti Dhiraha. Only a Dhira Purusha, wise discriminating man or a person, can see this Atma as his own real self. Tesham Shanti Shashwati. So that is the only person who attains eternal peace. In the previous shloka, I said that Tesham uh, 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 Sukha Shashwata. Here it is said Shanti. So Sukha and Shanti both are the same in meaning in our scriptures. The happiness is the peace. Peace is the happiness. Only if we are peaceful, we are happy. Only if we are happy, we can be peaceful. Na itaresham. There is no other way we can have this eternal happiness or peace. knowing our own self, our Atma Tattva is the only way, the Sat Chit Ananda as our own self is the only way to attain that eternal peace or happiness. In the 14th mantra, naturally a question comes up whether such a hidden, difficult tattva can be understood, can be known, which cannot be seen, which cannot be understood. How can it be understood? So it says, if this paramam sukham, one who has attained, found his inner bliss, which is anirdeshyam, which is directly experienced as the aparoksha gnana, then tat etat, then we can only know this as the directly experienced happiness. Can we really experience this kind of inner bliss? It says, Katham tad vijaniyam kimu bhati vibhati va. Yes, definitely it is possible. Guruma tells us that it will require a spiritual journey to purify ourselves and understand this self-knowledge. And the final mantra of this second Valli of the second Adhyaya, it's a very well-known mantra describing the reality of the Tattva. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भांति कुतोयमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वम तस्य भासा सर्वविदं विभाति न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न chandra tarakam. Atma cannot be seen by Surya, Chandra or Tara. I mean, sun, moon, or the stars, or the planets, or anybody cannot show us the Atma Tattva, because it is because of the Atma that all these exist, and they create their own path, and their journey and everything is done only because of the Atma. This Atma Tattva or the Brahma Tattva or the divinity or the supremely divine. All these planetary positions, their movements, the solar system, the light years, and all this universe works under the control of the Paramatma, under the supreme divinity. So, sun, moon, or stars cannot show the divine. Nema vidyuto bhanti kutayam agnihi. So then how can a fire? Agni cannot show that. If sun, stars or moon cannot show this Atma Tattva, Agni or any kind of light cannot show this, because it is cannot be seen. Atma Tattva or divinity cannot be seen, cannot be manifest. What is manifest is all the forms, but behind that form, the one that, through which these forms manifest is the divine. Tam eva bhantam anubhati sarvam. And just because you are self-effulgent, you you prakash or you light your own self, swaprakash you are. And that's why everything is known. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Behind you, everything gets lighted up, becomes manifest. And because you are Swaprakasha, everything gets Prakashita, becomes Paraprakasha. All the objects in this world are Paraprakasha. They are all dependent on the Atma Tattva, the divinity, to make them manifest, to show them, to light them up. So the divine tattva is the light of everything. It shows up everything. It lights up everything. Everything is known by this divine tattva. The existence of everything is based on this divine tattva. And this divinity is nothing but the one that we yearn for, our inner bliss, our permanent happiness that we all want, that is all part of our own self. And that self is nothing but the divinity, all pervading divinity, the Brahman. And this is what Upanishad is trying to tell us. With this, we come to the end of the second Valli of the second Adhyaya of Kathopanishad. Iti Kathakopanishadi Dvitiyadhyaye Dvitiya Valli Samaptam. Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parah Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.